Thank you, Vasily, for the invitation. I'm going to speak in English so as to facilitate our foreign guests. My name is Fotis Kokotos. I'm currently in Elunda, Crete, where we own a number of hotels. I'm an environmental engineer with a specialty in water management. However, I have chosen not to talk about my specialty, water. I'm sure there are going to be many people in the room who are well versed in the issue. And I haven't chosen to talk about energy, which is something that is a major aspect of environmental design, of architectural design for the hospitality industry, and a major component of what we measure as environmental compliance in pretty much any company, including tourism industry. I have chosen to mostly concern myself with solid waste management, what we call zero waste in the industry, and pretty much everywhere else. And nowadays it is one of our targets, like we talk about negative carbon or zero carbon, zero emissions. We're trying to approach a cyclical economy. So this is what I'm going to be concerned with. It's an issue that I have tackled over the past 5 years, just before the pandemic, and it is something that, unlike energy and water, which are architecture/engineering issues per se, almost exclusively, you can minimize your energy and water consumption by tackling back of house areas, engineering, facade, all sorts of these approaches that do not involve the staff so much and the management of the company. Whereas zero waste is something that is very holistic, and it also extends out, it has a reach into the local community. It is something that instills into people a way of, a modus operandi and a way of thinking about their everyday life, which energy management and water management do not so much do. So I will concentrate with solid waste and what we do and the lessons I've learned and the lessons that I would like you to take away from this short presentation, which is just a talk. Really, I'm not going to bother you with PowerPoint slides. This is just me telling you about, first, some of my experiences. When tackling solid waste, I have found that there is only so much you can do as an engineer. Of course, you can read up the bibliography, you can read about the types of solid waste and the different streams that you need to manage within a business. I have identified more than 20. At the moment, we are sorting 25 different solid waste streams in our hotel company. And each of them needs to be dealt with independently, differently. And we need to teach people about them so as to be able to effect this sorting. I can't be everywhere and do it myself, obviously. And this is something that requires a lot of HR training. It also affects design, though. And it affects design in that architects and engineers, when designing a resort, very rarely, I haven't seen it in all my years of working in the industry, pay particular attention, extensive attention, to how waste is sorted through the company, how it enters and how it exits, how it is managed within each department and in the business as a whole. It is just largely assumed that it's stuff that will be thrown away in a bin and somebody will come and pick it up and it's none of our concern. Well, it is, and it should be. And it should be from top management down to the very last worker in the company. It is something that pervades the entire structure, the entire pyramid. And it should affect the design, the designers, the consultants, and everybody who's thinking about hotels and how to improve them. So for any architects or engineers in the room, or hotel managers for that matter, just pause for a minute and think how waste is being sorted in your business, or what you have done as a designer, as a consultant, in order to facilitate and to incorporate waste management into what you provide to your clients, what you deliver. Do your deliverable designs contain flowchart for how many materials? Is it different for each department? Have you identified the different streams produced by each department? Where do they end up? Who sorts them and how? Is it only the staff? Is the guest involved? If the guest is involved, how do you get them involved? It is a whole process. So after having done this mental exercise, the lessons that I've learned by doing it over the years is, for one thing, you must involve the guest, and not only the guest. I'd say that is not the part of the exercise. Involving the staff is the obvious part, and it's not easy in itself. Involving the guest is harder, but also you need to involve third party, outside collaborators, people who come in for a job, somebody who comes to perform for a night, somebody who comes and takes away linen, brings linen. Anybody who enters the business, essentially, event has to adhere to a policy. This policy must be written down, it must be communicated, and it must be extensive and easy to communicate and to implement. So there is a lot of work and design going into how do you place the different kind of bins. And if you decide on, say, 10 streams, you must have 10 different containers. And these must be then managed and placed accordingly. And what we do is we don't just give them all to the local municipal waste dump. No, we have third-party contractors who come in and each takes a different one for metal, a different one for the different kind of plastics, which we sort independently. There are at least 7 kinds of different plastic. We do that for wood, for glass, and so on and so forth. So an architect, an engineer, a designer of a kitchen must take into account, for example, food waste. Food waste is a major element, a major component. It's at least 50% by weight of the waste being produced in a hotel company. And by law, hotels must manage it. I'm pretty certain that very few hotels in Greece do it, although it is by law something that we should have been doing since last year. Sort out food waste, measure it, and have it appropriately managed. What we do is we send it to a biogas facility, which is an hour's drive from here. So we pay for it, for the transport. And this is something that a designer would have to take into account when designing both the kitchen itself, where the different stations are that produce the food waste, as well as where it is intermediate storage for that waste, because it's not going to be leaving the business every day or every second day. What we do it is what we have is twice a week at best. So it must be stored, and it must be stored in a place where it's not going to smell. It's not like a bin that you can place out in the scorching heat. So that adds complexity to the designers, to the engineers, and what they must do. Then you need to clean all that, which means that the areas where you place this waste and when it is transported need to be washed and disinfected. That water and disinfectant must end up somewhere. You must take that into account, where it ends up and how it is treated, how that water is treated. Dangerous liquid waste is a major element of dangerous waste. And so there are many dangerous items of waste that we produce, and that each must be handled independently. Some are solid, for example batteries or luminaries or lamps, and some are liquid. A lot of the chemicals that we use in a hotel business are designated as hazardous waste. So as you can see, the more you go into it, the more thinking that you need to do, and the more reading, and the more you need to start considering who you're going to be dealing with. you're not now dealing with just the top management of the company. You're dealing with every person who washes dishes, every person that goes into a room and takes the trash out of the toilet bin. And then it starts getting very difficult as to how to convince them, how to train them, how to implement this policy that you have in place. What we do in our hotel is we start the seminars as soon as the hotel opens. There are a lot of people who have been doing these seminars now for 5 or 6 years with me, but there are always new people coming in, and you need to create a culture where the older staff teaches the newer staff the procedures, and the procedures change because the law changes. For example, the thing about food waste is something that just recently came into force, and then there are going to be more changes. There are going to be even more. We are going to try and sort more diligently and more meticulously. There are going to be even more categories of solid waste that we will need to sort, and then you need to train the staff for each and every one of them, and the architect and engineer who designs a hotel must educate themselves as to how this is done. I think that this as an introduction should get you thinking as to how to become a zero waste company, or to how to design a zero waste hotel. I could give you clues as to what to do, as in, for example, to involve the staff and guests, it must be in their face. Bins, sorting bins, the method, the methodology, a chart as to what goes where, a way of communicating. It cannot be done verbally. Most of the time, it has to be a perfect recycling station. If you think about it, and if you decide about placing recycling stations in hotels, I would say place them at the entrance. Make them really nice. Make sure that the guest sees them and immediately understands what the hotel is about. Zero waste policy. It is something that they can take back to the room. And then there's going to be another set of instructions in the room as to how to do it, and at the beach and at the restaurants. But it must be everywhere. Obviously it is in the back of house areas, but now it's coming into the front of house areas, and it is a matter of taste really as to how to do it. We are now designing a new recycling station for our hotels, which is going to be produced en masse and placed everywhere, so it must look good. It must also be upgradable. So the containers that we are using are stackable containers where you can add bits and pieces, and the signs can change. So if you decide one year that you're going to place all the waste, the plastic waste together, next year you should be able to separate PET from polyethylene, from polypropylene, and from polystyrene, as we do. So you're going to need 4 bins, and so on and so forth. So this is what I had to say. I'm sure we could expand on this issue in the future, and I wish that you take something away from this and that it's going to be useful for you. Thank you again, Vasily, for the invitation.